Some of y'all need to learn some basic research skills. Now, I haven't looked at the last year's statistics, but about 4 years ago, when I was on SNAP, we were pulled randomly, like they do to poor people, to investigate whether we were actually poor. That, of course, went really easily. We were actually poor. But during the interview, the lady who was doing the investigation, and I need to go on a side here, she was actually very nice. This was a pro forma thing. They just randomly pull names. But she showed me the actual statistics and gave me the link to them at the time, which found that overall, there's about 2% of fraud among the whole SNAP program. Note, I did not say among SNAP recipients. I said among the whole program. Over 90% of the detected fraud is by merchants. She told me that even in that case, most of it was accidental, things being miscategorized as permissible foods and like prepared foods that weren't supposed to be, things like that. Which took it down somewhere, in her estimation, around 50% of that total was actual fraud, where merchants were improperly taking SNAP benefits from recipients. Where's your outrage over that? You want to paint the poor as somehow horrible criminal people. We're not. Most of us feel your shame about taking the government assistance when we're on it. We shouldn't. There is no shame in being poor. We're the ones that these billionaires who evade so much money and have all of their shit subsidized left, right, and center, including SNAP. If you don't think SNAP is a corporate subsidy, look at the number of full-time employed people who qualify. But hey, it's them poors. No, the fuck it's not. Of course, I see in the news there that Taco Don did it again, but part of me hoped that Republicans would take one of two options. I mean, let's face it, this isn't about SNAP benefits. It's about Epstein and healthcare. Probably in that order, because y'all have no shame. But you don't want your people being taken down. What I would have liked to see, to be honest, is for the Republicans to nuke the filibuster and pass their CR. Not that that would have been helpful. In fact, it would have been devastating to the United States in a lot of ways. But they'd have had to put their names to it in public that it was definitely about denying health care. But they won't do this. Mike Johnson's going to try to keep the Congress out of session as long as he possibly can. If he had his way, we would not reopen until after the elections in 2026. If he had his way, there'd never be any elections. But that's beside the point. Why? Because as soon as the House of Representatives goes back into session, he has to swear in the 218th vote on the Epstein files. Now, the Senate is trying to destroy the ACA without actually destroying the ACA on paper because, they care so much about the health of Americans. I look at practical solutions primarily in politics. Right now, there isn't any in the United States because our alleged leadership is incapable of leadership, though they're very good at allegations. This will change. We're going to vote you fuckers out. But the easy, simple, practical, and cheap solution by comparison to what we spend now is to indeed scrap the ACA and pass Medicare for all or a similar universal health care law, like civilized countries do.